church. It's Pastors Jen and Jacob for today's digital devotion. And we have a very special guest. You've been seeing her interpreting in ASL on Sunday mornings during our worship services. We are so excited for you to meet and get to know a little bit better our ASL interpreter, Jennifer Stevenson. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello there. It's good to see you.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how you found Claremont UCC?
Well, I'll try to keep this brief. So I have been interpreting for deaf churches for about 10 years, one church in specific. But recently, this last summer, it really impacted me that the church was kind of rejecting a specific community, the LGBTQ community. And that did not sit well with me. I did not feel comfortable with that. I was surprised, to be honest, because in those 10 years, I did not know they had this position. And so I didn't feel necessarily fooled, but surprised for sure. So I decided to resign. And for a few months, I wasn't going anywhere, and I started looking for a new church after that. It was getting close to Christmas, and I was in my search, and I found Claremont UCC. It's close to my home, kind of near my home, about 20 minutes. I wanted to go into the church face to face, of course. So I was very attracted to it. I thought it was great. I was watching some of the services during Christmas time. And then there was just a lot of issues with some family members that was happening in my life during that time. And so I watched it again in the New Year's, a couple of weeks later. And as I was watching the service, I clicked on About Pastor Jacob. And in the About page, I noticed that he had a deaf family. And so I said, what? That is so strange. So I held on to that, and I was watching the service. And when it was done, I decided that I would be praying, feeling like I'm called to serve again. I want to be able to interpret for a church. And so maybe this is the church in the future. Once we're back in person, I might be able to volunteer. And then just 2 days later, I was sitting in the parking lot waiting for my dad at a doctor's appointment. And Pastor Jacob emailed me. It was really a blind carbon copy with a lot of interpreters on the email, but I felt as if it was directed straight at me. So I was excited, and I responded and said, yes, I'm interested. And so we were able to connect because he was looking for an interpreter. And so been doing interpretation online. I really look forward and hope that we can be face-to-face in the future.
That is so fun. I didn't know all the details of that story. And yes, it was a blind carbon copy emailed to many interpreters, but we knew that the Holy Spirit would deliver it to the right interpreter. And little did you know that we had been looking and praying and thinking about how we could find an interpreter for our services, because it's been too long without one, and it's really important to us. Well, awesome. We're so glad that you connected with Claremont UCC. Tell us a little bit about what you do for work and for fun when you're not interpreting for worship services on Sundays.
Well, my personality is that everything I do is for fun. So my work full-time as a job is also fun for me. And then I do a lot that I think is fun as well. So I do work as an interpreter full-time for a college close to here, Mount San Antonio College, Mount SAC. And so I'm full-time there. There are a lot of deaf students, over 100 deaf students, about 80 of them, I think, who sign. So it is really cool that we can provide services online over Zoom right now, which is great. Yesterday, we passed out biology kits for all of the deaf students who are in biology for this full-time. It's going to be a full-time deaf class on Zoom. So other activities for fun is I love to cook. I love feeding people and being in community with them. And so I have a few family members during this quarantine time that are joining me. It's not, of course, the full friends and family, unfortunately, but some close family members still that I can feed. I love to travel. Most importantly is I love water, so lakes or the beach, anything like that. Every year I go to Mexico with family, and I always look forward to that. So I'm hoping that we can travel soon.
Me too. And you are a native Southern Californian. Yep, yep.
Yes.
Well, those of you watching probably don't, watch a lot of sign language interpretation, so you may not know this, but Jennifer is super high quality, top notch, A++, one of the best interpreters that we've seen. And that's saying a lot because Pastor Jacob has seen a whole array of interpreters in his lifetime. He's worked as an interpreter. And so not only did we find someone who cares about social justice issues like we do, we found an amazing interpreter. So we're so grateful that you're here with us. And we can't wait for you to meet everyone in person one of these days. All right.
Thank you. I'm so excited to meet everyone and meet more people. And so we were talking about how, we wanted to do this interview in ASL for any deaf people watching, but Jennifer can speak in English. So she's signing today.
I'm not deaf.
Not deaf. That's how she can be an interpreter. Well, it's good to know there are deaf interpreters as well. Yes, so that's called a certified deaf interpreter, where someone will speak. A hearing interpreter will sign to the deaf interpreter, who then the deaf interpreter will make sure it's in very clear, good ASL. So know that there are deaf interpreters, but when you meet Jennifer, you will be able to speak with her in English as well.
Oh, before we go, Jennifer, can you tell everyone about your name sign?
It's really old. It's from a long time ago. I had a hairstyle that was like this, and someone used that name sign without me knowing. And I walked up to the group talking, and I was like, who's this? He goes, oh, she's here. So it's been about 13, 14 years. So often people confuse it and do this, and that means Korea. So it's just out.
Awesome. And one other reason, I'm just making this an educational moment, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
One other reason that we were interpreting and I was signing and she was signing is when you talk and sign at the same time, it's called simultaneous communication. And in the deaf community, that's taboo because there's different word orders, different syntax. And so someone who's trying to speak and sign at the same time won't be clear in both languages. So that's why we were turning off our voice and just signing.
Good to know.
All right, thank you. And we look forward to you meeting all the awesome people in our church community.